this fight.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Evander Holyfield actually made up his mind and said, let's get the fight on the way.
Lennox Lewis ready to rumble. Good morning. Mike Breen with sports. March 13th, heavyweight championship fight. As Don King said yesterday, the Ids of March. Lewis, the WBC champ, against Evander Holyfield, the WBA and IBF champ. Holyfield at yesterday's press conference to announce the fight at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, made some promises of his own.
I will be there, and I'm here to tell you that I will be the undisputed champion. Matter of fact, I'm the undisputed champion now. The belt, the date just ain't yet came yet, and on the 13th, I'll be wearing my belt.
Why is he still fighting?
What did he say?
I honestly don't know.
He said he was the undisputed champion, but
Something about the belt.
somebody was wearing something. Somebody wearing.
He was going to wear somebody else's belt, but then he was going to wear his own belt.
I didn't. That's
Wear two belts.
Let's hear that again, see if we can make it out.
I will be there, and I'm here to tell you that I will be the undisputed champion. Matter of fact, I'm the undisputed champion now. The belt, the date just ain't yet came yet, and on the 13th, I'll be wearing my belt.
On the 13th, he'll be wearing his belt. We got that.
Right.
Despite how he sounds, he will whoop Lennox Lewis. They are not in the same
One
class.
would hope. Well, Lennox Lewis is one of the more obnoxious people on the planet, and we would hope that he gets his pud knocked in the mud by Mr. Holyfield, who apparently is... Is there any way to understand that? Let me hear that again, Lou.
I will be there, and I'm here to tell you that I will be the undisputed champion. Matter of fact, I'm the undisputed champion now. The belt, the date just ain't yet came yet, and on the 13th, I'll be wearing my belt.
Well, he's the undisputed champion now. And on the 13th,
The belt that they ain't just can't yet.
or something, he'd wearing my belt, but or whatever.
The date just ain't came yet, I
That could
believe.
be it. That could be it.
Meaning that it still is...
Oh, try that. Let me hear it again. Maybe that's it.
I will be there, and I'm here to tell you that I will be the undisputed champion. Matter of fact, I'm the undisputed champion now. The belt, the date just ain't yet came yet, and on the 13th, I'll be wearing my belt.
The date just... You're right,
The
Charles.
date just ain't yet came yet.
To be the undisputed champ.
Exactly.
There it is.
Yeah, I'll be wearing...
Yeah.
He's wearing my belt, but he will not be.
I'll be...
Been able to get a hold of Fred?
Negative.
It makes about as much sense as Evander. So,
Except he can't fight.
Fred bitches at me about everything. Like, we have Wyatt in a little lounge chair that he sits in. Just to, hang out. And I had him sitting on the couch. Fred says, well, you can't do that because he's going to roll off and fall off. I was going, okay. But in order to irritate Fred, I'd point out to him that he's going to have to quit smoking. So
It's a good thing to point out, man.
And he gets irritable when I mention that.
Yeah.
But I think this Nicotral inhalers, the gum's not for him, the patch is not for him. But I do, because I notice when he does smoke, he smokes those long Moore cigarettes.
Right.
And he doesn't really smoke them, he chews on them, and he only smokes about a quarter of them. So I think a Nicotral inhaler would be the thing for him.
Good work.
But we can't get a hold of him to. But as you'll see, if I just mention it to him, he just immediately blows up, So, but it's worth doing just to try to irritate him, With Mike Wallace from CBS's 60 Minutes, and Sunday night they're going to feature a story about the connection between smoking and impotence. So let's be the first story on 60 Minutes Sunday night? Or?
It will be.
What kind of cigarettes did you used to sell to people? We'll talk about
For years, I sold Philip Morris.
I lost track of what we were doing.
That's all right. I'm still here.
Okay, Evander.
For you.
Oh, dear, woo. Go with my bell. Do that for you.
Monday Night Football, 49ers and Giants put on quite a show last night. Nip and tuck battle until the final two quarters. Giants couldn't hold on to their lead and lost 31-7 at a soggy Candlestick Park. Giants did score on their first drive. Didn't score a point the rest of the way. Coach Jim Fossil evaluated the performance of his quarterback, Kent Graham.
I thought he made some really nice throws, and he did some good things.
I have to agree with the coach there. Not as many good things, though, as Steve Young, who threw 2 touchdown passes, and Steve analyzed his team's performance.
We
we kind of did what we did what we had to do in the elements kind of thing, you know.
Well said, Steve. Now, 9-3. Former boxer Steve Young.
Now, he hasn't been punched a lot in the head, has he?
He's still kick.
I don't know.
Bengals coach Bruce Coslett issuing an apology yesterday. While his team was losing to the Jaguars Sunday, fans were brutal, killing the Bengals. Coslett said this about the fans' lack of support right after the game.
It's probably to be expected, you know. I don't feel real damn good about it either, Marlon, to tell you the truth. How do you think I feel about it? How do you think the players feel about it? Maybe it's not worth it to us either.
Maybe it's not worth it to us. That's the comment that he felt was out of line. He got ripped for it, and yesterday issued his apology.
I most certainly did not mean to say what I said. You know, it was a mistake on my part, and it is worth it to us. It is important to us.
There you go. Poor Bruce. Not having a good season down there in Cincinnati.
What's the matter with that team?
They're just not good.
Okay.
They don't have a quarterback either.
Okay.
At least he's not Brian Cox of the Jets, who had this to say yesterday when asked a hypothetical question.
It's just like saying the comparison would be, you know, if my aunt had a penis, it would be my uncle. I mean, all that stuff don't really matter. You know, she doesn't have a penis, so she's my aunt. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we do.
I think we do, yes.
Okay. I feel you.
That could be the problem, isn't it fundamentally required that a football team have a quarterback?
Yes.
So the Bengals, you're telling me they played 12 or 13 games without a quarterback?
No, they usually snap directly to the running back. They don't have any confidence whatsoever.
That could explain part of the problem. You know, we like the coach out there in Cincinnati. He's our guy. But I think somebody's got to explain to him that we're a player short.
Yeah, he knows he's allowed to use 11. I think it's trying some kind of trick on the opponent.
Yeah.
Hasn't worked, though, that much.
What's their record? Like
2-10.
2-10.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be darned.
Worked twice.
They'll need a couple of big wins to get back in that playoff.
Oh, sure. All right.
And Highway Patrol.
One of the reasons that it is bad for us to continue to just refer to ourselves as so-called Negro, that's negative. When we say so-called Negro, that's pointing out what we aren't, but it isn't telling us what we are. We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not Americans. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
Imus in the morning.
It's Ben. 1998, CBS Radio. All rights reserved. Imus in the morning is a presentation of WFAN and Westwood One Entertainment. Okie doke.
This concludes the entertainment and revenue-generating portion of your broadcast day. We now return you to the rest of your local programming schedule, an indecipherable embarrassment of broadcasting incompetence that compelled the station to subscribe to the Imus in the Morning program in the first place. The entertainment and revenue-generating portion of the broadcast day, the Imus in the Morning program, will resume tomorrow morning. Check your local listings for time and schedule.
This is the 50,000-watt clear channel voice of the Mets, Jets, Knicks, Rangers, and St. John, the Fan. Sports Radio 66, WFAN, New York. WFAN 2020 Sports.
Good morning at 10 o'clock. This is Rich Ackerman.
Mike and the Mad Dog. Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Boy, it's been an absolutely wild 2 weeks in Boston. From Kraft leaving to the Miami game to Bernie Williams to Mo Vaughn to the couple of calls this past week with the Bills. Bob Ryan is with us. He, of course, for the Boston Globe. Bob, it's a...
Van Halen does the old Motown Martha Reeves and the Vandellas classic, Dancing in the Streets. Good luck if you're driving. Q104.
In D.C., Vernon Jordan. Good morning, Mr. Jordan.
Almost. Excuse me if my voice appear a little strained this morning, but I have been rigorously and continuously screaming at my television lately because I am sicker than a Hebrew bulimic at a pig picking, a Tim Russett, John McLaughlin, and every other Sunday TV fat white boy incessantly ruminating over the Monica Lewinsky story. We got the message. In time done blown the president, blown the whistle, and the whole damn thing blown out of proportion. Move on. Bubba got stung, the fat lady sung, move on. But meet the press, face the nation, confront the country, whatever the hell you call them tedious little political pundit ego fests, all insist on squeezing the last little bits of prurience out of this story like Jesse Jackson sucking the marrow out of neck bone. Sweeps period is over, boys, and nobody cares if he tried to snow job about the job, so long as they got a job. Move on. They spent more time talking about them 81 questions than the president did answering them. Whining about the inconsistencies of the two testimonies. Well, Bubba didn't commit no perjury or obstruction of justice. He just a little fuzzy on the details, see? Do you remember every time you got buck wild with some Bezo ended up with some Jerry curl on your Jimmy Jammy? No. It's real easy to forget a face when it been sitting on yours. And nobody get more stinky on his hang down than Bubba. So how he gonna recall every little sort of detail? Ain't no average healthy American man can account for every sexual encounter he ever had, except maybe Ken Starr. Because what ones he didn't have by way of his one hand, he can count on the fingers of the other. You know this monkey ass only knocking boots about 3-4 times annually, including his birthday, Father's Day, and New Year's Eve. The independent counselor like the high school mathlete with the pocket protector and the kick me sign on his back, who living vicariously through the exploits of the BMOC quarterback. So I understand why he didn't want to let go of this story. But for the life of me, Imus, I can't understand why Russet and all his cronies want to perpetuate it. The only thing I can figure is, just like Kenny Starr is obsessed with the president, these media morons is all infatuated with the I-Man. Ain't a one among them who wouldn't trade places with you, Imus. And I guess so long as they reporting on the Lewinsky situation, they can pretend they just like you, go on the air and say the word penis 50 times an hour. You got to remember that this all started when Bubba showed his Piggly Wiggly to Paula Jones. So for all y'all peckerheads what got presidential penis envy, don't forget this. It's one thing to see one, it's a whole nother thing to be one.
Yeah, Imus in the morning. In your shorts, 2020 sports.
A New York icon is traded. Good morning, Mike Breen with sports. Baseball busy yesterday with trades and free agent signings. And the busiest team of all, the New York Mets, who finally traded their popular catcher, Todd Hundley, sending him to the LA Dodgers in a 3-team deal with the Orioles.
Who's a New York icon?
Todd Hundley.
Jesus God. Todd Hundley?
Absolutely.
Very popular.
One of the most popular New York baseball players of all time.
Yeah.
Ranking up there with the Mick and Joe D.
Oh, exactly. Get out of here.
Sure.
Mets getting Armando Benitez and Roger Cedeno in the deal.
Future icons.
And the Dodgers receiving Todd, who was asked about his new team.
Being a Los Angeles Dodger is great.
Always away with words.
Yeah. Besides.
Good luck, folks, with him.
We will miss Todd Hundley.
Yes,
we will. The Orioles in the deal get catcher
He'll
Charles
be 3
Johnson.
months. Find himself. He'll find him Chavez Ravine. It'll take him 3 months. Guarantee it.
But they lost Rafael Palmeiro to free agency.
Oh, damn.
The veteran first baseman signs with the Texas Rangers, and Palmeiro became the 426th consecutive free agent to utter these words.
It didn't really come down to the money.
Never is.
No, of course not.
Palmeiro said, in fact, he's thinking of giving back his $45 million deal to the fans.
There you go.
Orioles lost Palmeiro, but gained Albert Bell. 5 years, $65 million for the congenial slugger.
I was really happy the Yankees didn't sign him. Weren't you?
For the congenial slugger.
Oh, man. That punk.
Rather be in last place without him than win a World Series with him.
Amen.
But Bell had a message for the Oriole faithful.
You know, I've had a great relationship with the fans, more so the last couple of years.
Like the time he hurled the ball into the stands, hitting the fan in the chest. The guy wound up suing him. Cal Ripken Jr. and Albert Bell, now teammates, perfect together.
God.
Bell is the anti-Cal. Going to college football, Oklahoma, a new coach. His name is Bob Stoops, former defensive coordinator at Florida. Stoops fired up with expectations.
I believe that drive and that pursuit in time certainly will get us where we should be, and that's competing for a Big 12 championship.
Right, whatever. Sooners in good hands. Well, college basketball.
Just take a while to work that out, that's all.
Number 1, UConn swamps number 14 Washington by 21. And number 8, Kentucky wallops number 6, Kansas, 63-45. Kansas coach Roy Williams was blunt afterwards.
It was pretty evident what happened. I think it doesn't, you don't have to be a nuclear physicist to figure out.
Still early in the season for Roy as well. We wish him all the luck in the world.
No, we don't wish him any luck.
And that's sports. I'm Mike Breen.
Dead yet?
No. Would there be any way that you would be willing to walk his dog for him?
Absolutely.
You're a wonderful man. Open his curtains for him so he can see God's beautiful work. And he'll know that even things like this happen for the best.
Where do they teach you to talk like this? In some Panama City sailor want a hump bar? Or is this getaway day and your last shot at his whiskey? Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
Imus in the morning.
From the island that's so close you can hear it, this is Radio Bermuda. Even if you've only driven past a country club, you can tell nature's had a hand in the design process. Maybe that's why some visitors say...
Television stations here in New York, they all broadcast... Oh, God, it's just...
Oh, it's going to be a big... I think it's a 2-hour special on NBC.
A 2-hour special lighting this stupid tree.
Yeah.
With Hillary there.
No, and Garth Brooks.
Yeah. It's a huge event this year. They're turning it into a deal.
All right, 3 minutes after the hour. It's a quarter after the hour here on the Imus in the morning program.
Every child needs someplace to go after school. So I think it's important to point out that the hours between 3 and 7 at night are the most vulnerable hours for young people to get in trouble.
Really?
There is this sort of assumption that everybody that gets in trouble when they're young has just already been abandoned. That's not true. Most of the kids that get in trouble after school closes and before their parents get home from work.
Tell your mama, tell your pa, gonna see you right now. No. Mama, they don't do right. Imus in the morning.
As the world leader...
Every 20 minutes, Rich Ackerman, WFAN 2020 Sports.
In the morning, it's Imus from 5:30 until 10. And in the afternoon, it's the Mike and the Mad Dog program from 1 to 6. Right here on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 WFAN in New York.
I appreciate everything.
Talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you.
All right, bye-bye. Todd Hundley, now a member of the Dodgers. Noon and 5 seconds is the time on this Wednesday afternoon of New York City. Russ and Steve and Dove and Eddie and you. And don't forget, 718-937-6666. A Wednesday schmooze. We call it until Mike and the Mad Dog at 1. On your Fan, New York.
Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
WFAN 2020 Sports.
Good afternoon at 12 noon. This is Rich Ackerman.
Good morning. Then you're listening to Imus in the morning. From 5:30 to 10 on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 WFAN New York.
Here
with reports every 20 minutes. Rich Ackerman, WFAN 2020 Sports.
Listen for Mike and the Mad Dog's weekend football picks every Friday on the Fan. Sports Radio 66, WFAN New York.
The following...
You're 66, don't go away.
News 2020 Sports.
Detmer not working out of the gun, setting it up, slinging it over the middle, wide open. He's got Pryor, first grab of the night, 45-40, gets the block down the sideline, to the 20, 15-10, will he go? Yes, touchdown Philadelphia.
A thriller in Philly. Good morning, Mike Breen with Sports. George Myers
did not watch 1 second of, did you?
That's correct. In a game with enormous draft implications, the Eagles beat the Rams 17-14 at the vet, spoiling the return of poor Rams coach Dick Vermeil. The former Eagle coach, Dick, was disappointed.
I was disappointed I wasn't bringing a better football team at this time back here. And we're a young football team, and I think we're eventually going to be a good football team.
No, you're not.
But I would have liked to brought a better football team back here.
You're awful. Your team is awful. And it's awful. It was an awful game.
It appears Dick will be able to go back to Philadelphia quite often pretty soon. Not with a good football team or a bad football team. Without a football team, as his Rams fall to 3-10. He's got 3 games remaining.
It's awful. The game was awful. You couldn't watch it. It was just awful.
NBA players
it was irritating. It was so awful.
Then turn it off. What's wrong with you?
Well, because I was trying to get my computers to work.
Yeah.
It was just awful. And I couldn't play with Wyatt because now he's eating, applesauce and rice cereal and stuff. And I mean, I've never seen anybody eat so much, but
we have. Tell me your future diet. Some of those breakfasts Michelle used to get.
Oh, yeah. It's genetic.
And so he ate so much he passed out.
Dear God.
So there's nothing for me to do but work. Yeah. So I had the game on. God, it was awful.
Unfortunately.
And I watched Dan Rather a little bit on Larry King's show. And, I like Dan, and he's going to be, we like Dan. He's going to be on.
Certainly.
But he says things sometimes that are so phony that it's just, he's so disingenuous, and I don't know why he does it.
Slides it almost into a showbiz.
No, it's just, it makes you cringe. It's so phony. He was talking about Hillary Clinton running for the presidency.
Yeah.
Hello. And that he thought what Gore ought to do is to say to Hillary Clinton, I really need your help in this campaign, and if you'll support me in my my run for the presidency, I'll appoint you Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
Great.
Now, that's assuming, of course, that that's available.
Mm-hmm. My goodness.
When old Bill's appeals come to the Supreme Court.
And then he says, well, that's all fine, painting that scenario. But then Rather says, says, I'm not Al Gore, and Al Gore's a much better man than I am, and he... Well, Dan Rather doesn't believe that.
Oh, of course not.
So why say that?
I don't know.
That Al Gore's a much better... And I didn't even understand it. Deirdre says, what does he mean by that? Al Gore's a much better man than I am, so he wouldn't do it. I mean, it was so absolutely excruciatingly phony that...
You can't even figure it out.
He can't even figure out what he means. He's just patronizing, and it's not necessary.
No.
Because Rather, it's a pretty straight guy most of the time, but... God almighty, it's just... So he was irritating, and the football game was irritating.
NBA players and owners met yesterday for over 12 hours negotiating to try and save the season. And after the marathon talks, this is what Commissioner David Stern had to say.
As bizarre as it sounds, we left on pleasant terms, absolutely agreeing that we couldn't agree.
No progress. Some of the words the players were using after the session: bleak, futile, bitches, ganja, and no further talks are scheduled now between the two sides.
Good.
Patrick Ewing said even a presentation by David Stern meant nothing.
I know that the commissioner came up and put up his charts up there, but you can never believe the numbers, and we don't agree with it.
Can't understand why they can't come up with some kind of agreement.
Hit your knuckles off the ground.
I don't understand.
No. That's fine. That's fine. I'm sure that...
President Ewing.
Why is this dragging on?
No progress, really.
You're kidding. We can't reach an agreement.
No,
Sports fans that call sports talk shows now cannot talk about the NBA. Not a problem, however, on WFAN in New York. Last night, the debut of legendary rock and roll disc jockey Scott Muni, who began his career as a sports talk show host and took phone calls with co-host Richard Neer.
Let's move on to Barry from Wayne. You're on the fan, Barry.
Good evening, rock and rollers. It's nice to have you guys on the air together. I wish you a lot of luck. Just want to say to Scott, listen to you growing up. Hope you could throw in some of those instrumentals you used to play, like Reverbery, Muni's Mood, maybe in the background.
Oh, my Lord, that collector side of me.
Oh, yeah. And I remember the first time you played Deacon Blues by Steely Dan. I'm a big fan of theirs, and I still remember hearing them in a warehouse job I had in the 70s. And,
that's cool.
A lot of good sports talk last night on WFA.
Look like Imus on KRLA. Oh, that's where Pop Hudson is. Great detail. Can we get some air checks?
Well, I mean, the problem is you're painfully right. It's coming up on 4 minutes now until the hour.
Imus in the morning.
From the island that's so close you can hear it, this is Radio Bermuda.
13 after the hour.
Hold on. I know you got dough. 1, 2, 3, hit it. Imus in the morning.
Their mission.
It's the WFAN Double Play New York.
Mike
1998. The Mike and the Mad Dog Radio program for a Friday in New York. Boy, I tell you, let's play two. The weather is unbelievable. It's like a baseball day today, but obviously it's a lot of football on the table with Chris Collin and Joan Chin. 718-937-6666. And good afternoon there, Michael. How are you?
I'm fine, Doug.
And I guess we have to start with basically...
Hi, I'm George Store.
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN, New York.
All right, on the Fan, let's talk to Buck Martinez. He does fix me up. You're going to have to first off, free up my deal, or secondly, trade me after 1 year if I don't like it. That's terrible. 10 o'clock, lots more to do on the Fan. Come on back.
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN.
Fellas. Current Central Park temperature is 56 degrees. Skies are cloudy, and that's what's happening. This is John Minko with 2020 Sports on WFAN, the flagship station for the Imus in the Morning program. Weekdays from 5:30 until 10.
On A&E.
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN, New York.
Okay, back on the Fan for hour number 2 of our radio program here at 718-937-6666. Let me get a couple of other things on the board here. You know, that Ordonez to Barry Larkin rumor that was on the back page of Newsday today that was supposedly supported by Bobby Valentine and not supported by Steve Phillips. It's a very tough call.
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN.
Good job by our last caller. I didn't even realize that. Last year, Jacksonville did finish. It makes it difficult. Quickly in the BCS, Al.
I sure as hell hope that Florida State does wind up in the Sugar Bowl, and if it's against K-State, because I think those are the two best teams in the country, and that's the game I'm dying to see.
That would be a heck of a football game. But, you know, if that's the case, Ohio State gets buried. One of those one-loss teams, Ohio State or Florida State, if they all win today, is going to be in trouble. Only have to put up with one more Minko update. It's coming up. Sports Radio 66.
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN.
To demonstrate the superiority
for New York Jets football.
Looking for a great...
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN, New York.
Back on the Fan, hour number 3. Good to have you aboard on this Saturday morning at 718-937-6666. That's your two-way sports talk telephone number. We're here, of course, until about 11:30, 11:35 today. St. John's against Boston College. That game is on the Fan. That's their first Big East game of the year for the Johnnies against BC. That up in BC. All right, we phone calls. It's been a good show here so far today, and let's kick it off in this third hour with Frank in White Plains on the Fan. Frank, how are you?
Good morning, Chris. How are you? Happy holiday.
Offer ends December 31st, 1998. Available on selected rate plans only. 2-year contract required. $175 early termination fee applies. SNET reminds you to use your phone safely while driving.
Join WFAN New York. We all want...
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN, New York.
Giants and Mets, folks, are a very close ball. I don't know about that. Good job, Joan Chin. Good job, Kyle Casey. Johnny Minko. Ackerman's up. They got St. John's, BC. Wishues a little bit later on today. Hockey tonight. Mike tomorrow morning. And we'll see you on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. And adios.
Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN.
Good morning, 2020 sports. Let's go to the audio tape.
Nobody in the backfield. We'll see if Seattle wants to gamble and come out with an all-out blitz on Vinny. 4th and goal at the 5. Testaverde under center. Looks over the defense. Takes the snap. Quarterback draw. Testaverde to the goal line. Touchdown!
Another wild day in the NFL. Good morning, Mike Breen with Sports. Howard Dave with the call. Jets victory over the Seahawks, 32-31. That Testaverde quarterback sneak, all anyone wanted to talk about afterwards, not because it was a great call, but because he never got in. The replay clearly shows Testaverde stopped short of the goal line. Coach Bill Parcells was asked about it at his post-game press conference.
Bill, did you see the replay of that play? Because it didn't appear that he got...
No. Now, how can I see the replay?
Well,
I think they got TVs in the middle of the damn field.
Sony watch. Do they have those screens up above the scoreboard?
I don't know.
You never look at that?
No, I hardly ever look at it. Okay, Gary, I looked at it, and I have you want me now to have an opinion on it? I didn't see the damn play, okay? Okay?
Go right into the
You're telling me what the hell I'm looking at. I didn't look at it.
Didn't they take a touchdown away from Curtis Martin earlier or something?
Yeah. All evens out in the end.
Right, no problem.
Of course, part of the fun of the Parcells press conference is listening to it on the Jets radio network, where co-host Dave Jennings has to time it just right when the coach enters the room.
Bill Parcells now approaching the podium to talk about this win, and here's Bill Parcells. Bill? Bill?
I'm going to say something facetiously, okay? So please take it like that.
All right, not bad this week. Timing pretty good. Yeah. Only about a 10 to 12 second interval.
What did he say that was facetious there?
Oh, he told a story about Bill Prince, the former broadcaster for the Pirates, and how he'd, make little jokes about how a very tough victory was easy. I'll get that cut for you later.
Okay. Why did I even ask that? Because Breen clearly doesn't know, does he?
No, I have it out there.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll wait for that. Let's move along.
While
here.
Bill's team benefited from the bad call, Seahawks coach Dennis Erickson, he was dejected.
Most disappointing loss I've ever been involved in. I mean, you play like we did, and it gets down to that one play, and just totally disappointing. Just to lose it like that is about as disappointing a thing as I've ever been involved in.
You get the point. Unfortunately, that call could cost him his job, and that's a fact. His team is now 6-7, and most likely now will not get a wild card spot. The other big game in Denver, Broncos got a little scare, but still beat the Chiefs 35-31. Broncos 13-0, but they have another tough game next week. They face the surging Giants at the Meadowlands. Giants have won 2 of their last 3 after beating the Cardinals in Arizona. Game last night, no contest. Vikings could have scored 75 points. They settled for 48 as they beat the Bears at the Metrodome 48-22. Game tonight, Packers and Buccaneers in Tampa. Of course, Boomer Esiason will have more on that a little bit later on in the program.
It's not a game we even want to bother to watch, no.
No, one lock, though. Boomer will say it should be an interesting game.
Yeah.
There's your guarantee for the morning.
Yeah.
And finally, college football. The Fiesta Bowl for the national championship on January 4th will be number 1 Tennessee against now number 2 Florida State. The Seminoles get in because of losses this weekend by UCLA and Kansas State. The winner will be the national champion.
It'll be that old goof Bobby Bowden. Oh, it's difficult to, if you're not an ardent football fan, you don't know who coaches Florida, who coaches Florida State. But it's Steve Spurrier's, the Gators, and this is right. We don't know how this worked out.
No.
In the Orange Bowl, Syracuse and Florida, that's Steve Spurrier's team.
Right.
In the Rose Bowl, Wisconsin and UCLA. And in the Sugar Bowl, Ohio State and Texas A&M. So, I
all those other games mean absolutely nothing.
No.
Don't even bother.
The Poland weed eater, whatever it is.
That's right, the Poland weed eater.
Yeah.
Fiesta Bowl.
The Depends, whatever. I don't know. Mike Barnacle, a guy from Boston, had how many arteries did they work on, Barnacle?
Well, they only did 5 because my HMO ran out. They were going to do 6. I also had my lung go down, just like you did.
Oh, you did?
Yes, extremely painful.
Here's the thing I want you to be concerned about is a lot of you remember Tom Wolfe, he had his bypass deal?
Yeah.
Then he got depressed?
Yeah.
We don't want you to get depressed.
No, I won't get depressed because I keep a picture of you up on my wall.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
But I'm reading something here from the Mass General Hospital about sexual activity after heart bypass.
Yeah.
And it says there are no restrictions on sexual activity unless your doctor specifies this to you.
Yeah.
The work of sexual activity has been compared to the work involved in climbing 2 flights of stairs. When you're able to comfortably climb 2 flights of stairs without shortness of breath or fatigue, you're probably ready to resume sexual activity. I climbed 3 flights of stairs last night at the Mass General and bumped into Barney Frank.
In the morning. Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
Next week could backfire badly when not enough qualified people will be available then to staff the classrooms. Although talks are continuing, teachers are back on the picket lines this morning. And a Brooklyn teacher who gave an acclaimed children's book entitled Nappy Hair to black and Hispanic third graders as a lesson in self-esteem has gotten removed from her classroom after parents complained about it. The author, Carolivia Heron, who is black, called the protest ridiculous because the book, she says, is a wonderful celebration of African American hair. The teacher, Ruth Sherman, who's white, was transferred out of her classroom at Public School 75 in Bushwick after a group of parents confronted her at a school meeting. Ron Davis, a spokesman for the United Federation of Teachers, Ms. Sherman's union, said he believed the parents who were angry hadn't read the book. The book is about a little girl with, quote, the nappiest, fuzziest, most screwed up, squeezed up, knotted up hair, end quote. And it has received rave reviews, including one from the New York Times, because it is not about race except to elevate race of African American people. And a federal judge has given the approval for a parade through Lower Manhattan marking World AIDS Day and said that should go forward despite the city's objections about it. The federal judge found that the city's refusal to permit the December 1st parade and a press conference hinted at discrimination. Warner Wolf will be in with sports coming up in the hour ahead. In for Mike Breen this morning. And the eye weather partly sunny, about 50 today, clouding up tonight with rain developing after midnight, low 40, and then rain tomorrow morning, ending in the afternoon. It is 40 degrees right now at 3 minutes after 8 o'clock.
1 in 20 New Yorkers suffers from diabetes. One of their greatest fears is the possibility of losing a limb.
I got a 40-ounce can of whoop-ass for you, and I'm ready to pop the top and pour you a nice, tall, cold-blooded one. I'm sick of hearing about you and that work farm you're building for those kids, brother. It's not a ranch. It's a front for that mail-order business of your brother's brother. He's going into the meat business, and as soon as you're up and running, those kids will be helping you pump out more beef than the Chicago slaughterhouses. Well, I'm taking you to the Hogan Family Sausage Works, brother, and by the time I'm done with you, half of you'll be stuffed in natural casing, and the other half will be trussed up like a rump roast. You'll be enough raw meat to feed a family of 12 through the spring thaw, brother, because you're weak, brother. You got nothing. I'm Hurricane Mitch, and you're a Honduran lean-to. I'm an El Nino of rage, brother, and I'll tell you another thing. I'm sick of hearing about those books you're recommending. You act like you're some kind of cowboy hat-wearing T.S. Eliot. Well, when I'm done with you, brother, the only thing you're going to be reading is the obituary column to make sure they spelled your name right. Because let me tell you something. You're smaller than an ingrown hair on my shaved chest, brother. You're a snail, and I'm a box of Kosher salt. I'm on the cover of TV Guide, brother, which is nothing more than a painful reminder to me that my legitimate television career didn't pan out, and I'm back to work, dummy-punching functional illiterates and motorcycle felons on work release, brother. I got nothing to lose. So if I were you, I'd get my affairs in order, brother, because as they say, you're about to play the part of Andrew Johnson in that PBS special, posthumously.
Hollywood Hogan with a 10-pound can of whoop-ass, is that what you had?
I don't know, brother. I can pay attention, you deaf bastard.
It's 16 after the hour here on the Imus in the Morning program.
Tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Imus in the morning.
The new garden incorporates a pathway.
Again, that was Jeff Greenfield from CNN, the worldwide leader in 24-hour cable news.
Who is gonna make it? We'll find out in the long run. In the long run, Imus in the morning.
Oh, have mercy. Let me talk to everybody in the program. Likes him enormously because he's a great guy.
Yes, he is. Be anybody's bitch in the world, we still love you.
Yeah. So he's a sports guru.
Yep.
But he's also, you can talk to him about anything. He's just a smart guy, and he's with a wonderful sense of humor.
Yep.
But what a phony he was yesterday, coming back there. You know, I was ragging on him about the Jets stealing that game from Seattle. So, he's telling me, he's telling all of us in the office that it doesn't make any difference that a win's a win and you were going to take it. But then he was going to go on the air. Did you hear him yesterday?
No.
Oh, okay. Did anybody hear him yesterday?
No.
He was going on the air. He was going to go on the air and talk about how Seattle got robbed and all that. And meanwhile, privately, gloating and that the Jets had won.
You can't be doing that, for crying out loud.
So,
stick to your position.
And then his partner, Chris Mad Dog Russo, his wife, inexplicably, is about to have a child here.
Right.
In fact, the baby was due on Sunday. So, and no, and here it is Tuesday, and the baby's still not due. So, a baby's not due, baby's due, so baby's not here.
Baby's overdue.
So they're now.
But I don't know what kind of I mean, I'm sure Chris will be fine as a father, but about a week ago I asked him how his wife, how's the baby situation doing, and he says, I have a great interview coming up today with some football player, Bart Starr or somebody, or I don't know what it was. So, didn't even respond.
That was his response to your...
That was my response to how's the wife.
Good, great. Wow.
But the fact that that's a very weird situation.
It is.
Sure. An interracial family like that?
But and he's hoping for a daughter.
Yeah.
So that's what Frances is saddled with. His conflicting feelings about his loyalty to his fat friend, Bill Parcells and the Jets, and his obligation to be forthright on his radio program, which apparently is clear he's not being.
Obviously not.
Mike Breen continues.
NBA lockout continues, but the players will start to earn some money, finally. An exhibition game has been set for December in Atlantic City. Part of the money to charity, part to NBA players in financial need.
How much possibly could a game in Atlantic City raise?
I have no idea. 16,000-seat arena, charging $1,000 for courtside seats. You know, a few $1 million out of that. Union President Patrick Ewing says there are some players...
Who would go see it? Would you go see it?
Not at gunpoint.
Ewing says there are some players that are hurting.
Well, no, I got a lot of flack when I said that we're fighting for, a livelihood.
I hate What's the matter?
Can't you let him play?
Well, why? Why?
There should be a rule of one bomb per sportscast. You already used that.
But I mean, why didn't he let me know that he was? Did he lapse into something where he just reveals himself to be the knuckle-dragging nitwit that he is?
I just found his take on the exhibition game quite interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
When it cues up again, we're going to hear it. So.
Well, no, I got a lot of flack when I said that we're fighting for, a livelihood. I'm financially secure, but there are a lot of other people who aren't. A lot of other people who unfortunately are in need.
There you go.
NBA players.
That's right.
In need. In
NBA players in need. I don't think many people realize that there are those players out there. We need to help them.
That is interesting.
$1,000 courtside.
You wanted me to replay that?
Did you know there were NBA players in financial distress?
Do you have any sensitivity towards these poor players?
No, none whatsoever.
It would be. It wouldn't make any difference to me if they all were homeless. In fact, there would be some poetic justice or some sort of justice. In fact, if they were
living on
most
the
of them.
lifeboats in Atlantic City.
Exactly. I mean, there's a horrid bunch of individuals, including that jerk Michael Jordan.
He will not play in this game, by the way.
Yeah.
So no NBA basketball, but college basketball. Number 2 Maryland blasted DePaul 92-75, making for an upset Quentin Richardson of DePaul.
If we come out and compete every night, then nobody should be able to beat us that bad. And I mean, I take that as an insult, us losing by 17 points. And I mean, that hurts a lot.
He's hurting a lot.
I feel you.
A lot. We feel his pain. And that's sports. I'm Mike Breen.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? Imus in the morning.
Hey, did you see what's in Newsweek this week? More than 20 million people do and never worry about being out of the loop. Newsweek's cover story this week is Hot Ticket. Actually, a pretty good cover from Newsweek, unlike some of their covers, which frankly suck. But Nicole Kidman, the girlfriend, is on the cover here. And she's making her Broadway debut in The Blue Room. About her marriage, she's talking about her marriage to Tom Cruise and their fight for privacy. Observation on headline issues of the day. Imus in Washington senior political advisor, the late Richard M. Nixon.
Indeed. And thank you very much, as always, Imus in the morning. Well, we stand on the precipice of history today, do we not? This is it, the week that was. The week when the House Judiciary Committee shall begin debating articles of impeachment against a president of the United States. And where have I heard that refrain before? Anyway, as you're aware, JD, a struggle has broken out in the ranks of Republicans regarding what sort of penalty to impose on President Clinton, whether to proceed with impeachment or rebuke him through censure. Neither option, however, satisfies a majority. One is too heavy-handed, the other not stiff enough. not punitive enough. Clearly, this matter is over. The president is not going to be thrown from office, nor will he voluntarily leave. Having once been at this crossroads myself, I've given the matter a great deal of thought, and I believe I have a workable compromise. Now, since the Constitution demands impeachment and really doesn't provide a censure alternative in these circumstances, I propose we move forward with the constitutional process, but limit the scope of impeachment so that the process applies only to that portion of the president that is at the center of the case against him. And so, I appeal right now to Henry Hyde, my old friend and chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Don't impeach the president. Impeach the president's penis. It's the only scenario that makes sense in my view. You see, that way, we acknowledge the concerns of the electorate, permit Bubber to continue his work, but condemn his conduct. Haul him right down into the well of the Senate in like a hospital gown, and then to preserve his dignity, have him only lift the gown high enough to expose the accused, as it were, and then poll the membership. It would all be pro forma. We already know what happened, but Chief Justice Rehnquist could proceed, outline the charges. The penis of the 42nd President of the United States is charged with having trespassed across the incisors and palate of a fat, fleshy intern. Fine. How say you, guilty or not guilty? Everybody votes. Rehnquist says, will the accused please stand? They show Bubber a naked picture of Sharon Stone. The sergeant-at-arms comes in and smacks the damn thing with a yardstick, and for God's sake, we move on. That's the only suitable way out of this mess, J.D. Not impeachment, but for this guy, impeachment. And that's the view in this Dick Scobie man, that of Dick Nixon, who would have been only too happy to expose himself if it had meant that he could continue as the President of the United States.
It's 9 o'clock here on the east coast of the country. I'm Imus in the morning. This is WFAN in New York City. And it's time for the local news. And with all that, my friend Charles McCord. Good morning, Chuck.
Like Santa, you have to say ho, ho, ho. So girls and boys, let's make some noise. Give thanks for joys and all goodies and toys. For Christmas, yes indeed, this must be the greatest holiday treat, so people just buzz. How I celebrate as we elevate. Big Daddy Kane is on the mic and I'ma tell a great Christmas line for your delight. That's Merry Christmas to all and to all a good night.
Imus in the morning.
Do you know somebody?
I think most people have things about their jobs, no matter how agreeable the circumstances might seem to be, that they'd still like to change if they could. Yeah. I mean, no job situation is completely perfect, is it? No. We had an unfortunate example of that here at the Imus in the Morning radio program the other day. Right. I do piecework for Imus now and again, as you probably know, in addition to the essays you've seen me do on the CBS program 60 Minutes. Fine. Anyway, the problem that occurred here the other day arrived in the form of a piece of viewer, or maybe it was listener mail, sent to Don Imus. Makes no difference. It was sent in by Tom Brokaw, the fellow who's the news anchor man at NBC. I've got a copy of it here in my desk somewhere. Oh, here it is. Not very long, a couple paragraphs. Essentially, it's Tom's response to Imus mentioning Mr. Brokaw's new book, The Greatest Generation. Says how flattered he was, how much he appreciated it, all that. Here's the problem. When Imus receives a piece of mail, he wants to stuff it up the sender's I don't care if it came from the Pope. The reason is that neither Imus nor I have any interest in hearing from you people. No. Imus is not in the pen pal business. No. For my money, he's made it excruciatingly clear over the years that the way the Imus program works is he speaks, you listen, period. You might forgive the new Imus listeners at KRLA in Los Angeles for not getting the message yet, though this serves notice, but you can't forgive Brokaw, who's been familiar with the Imus program for years. I think the only thing we can conclude is that it's on purpose. That, like Jack Kevorkian shooting the Jonestown Jews to that guy in the video the other day, Brokaw's trying to force some sort of showdown. Because believe me, one more piece of viewer mail from Tom, and Imus files a harassment suit. And isn't this society already litigious enough without having Tom Brokaw adding to the problem? You'd think the Richard Jewell episode would have been enough. It's the NBC Evening News, Tom, not Dear Abby. Yeah. I mean, didn't you ever notice we call the audience listeners, not responders? Just because Imus mentioned your name doesn't mean he suddenly wants to meet you in a bathhouse. It's not a dialogue, it's radio. He talks, you listen. And you suppress, one would hope, any urge to write a letter. Imus does not want to hear from you. No. He hates you. And for God's sake, no Christmas cards. Fact of the matter is, he fervently hopes your Christmas lights short out and burn your tree to the ground, taking the Furby doll you shed blood for with it, leaving your children hating you almost as much as he hates you. So, to sum up, keep those cards and letters.
Breen and I were talking about how competitive parents are. And my wife is the worst.
Really?
The only person who is worse than my wife about it is me. I took home the phonics game. It's for 3 to 6-year-olds, the junior phonics game.
Yeah.
For children that need that sort of thing. Of course, mine
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
Mike Espy got off. Did you report that? Charles and Bernie come in this morning with armbands on, black armbands.
Yeah.
So upset that Espy got off.
Absolutely not.
That's ridiculous.
What had he done? Took some tickets.
Because he's a brother. He got indicted by the old hatchet-faced hag at the Justice
Exactly. A few little favors and stuff.
Some chickens and basketball tickets.
Come on.
You're a brother and you're the education secretary or the agriculture secretary. You can't get some free chickens and some basketball tickets. What's the point?
Imus in the morning.
Well, I think that is the point.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Well, of course, by now you're aware of the countless reasons to go and play at Mohegan Sun. George Jones on a pretty morose little Christmas Teddy here on the Imus in the Morning program.
My brother appearing this morning on MSNBC on the audio phone in a Santa hat.
Ho, ho, ho.
God almighty.
Ho, ho, ho. Santa needs a hoe. Ho, ho, ho.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
I mean, David loves Fred, but...
What have I done? What have I done wrong? Have I done something stupid?
I mean, sometimes she'll just say to me, is this necessary?
I married white trash.
She's over there studying at the sore bone thinking, man, I'm...
Sore bone, yes, that Santa's got. Sore bone.
Imus in the morning. Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
If you're looking for the technology, this is one of them.
Here comes Stanley Claus here.
I'm a be your Santa baby. Joseph Abud, good morning, Mr. Abud.
Good morning, Don. Good morning, Charles. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Aren't you being honored today at some deal somebody told me about?
Yeah, the UJA Neckwear Designer of the Year. And on Friday, we're being honored by the Arab American community.
The Gerbil Association.
We?
Well, I mean, I could say I, but I'd rather be humble about it.
No, I would rather you say I, because when you say we, it sounds...
Like you have a gerbil in your
It's like you have a gerbil in your butt. Just say I.
If your radio light sucks in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
I think this insistence on denying that you're a homosexual, implying that there's something wrong with that.
That's what's offensive.
That's what's offensive.
You know, the whole teddy bear thing, you really are. I mean, even being an advertiser, you are torturous.
Chances are, if you give a Buddha ring.
Imus in the morning.
Well,
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
well, of course, by now you're aware of the countless reasons to go and play.
Wow.
He rides very well, by the way.
I bet Fred would be funny
Used to
when
race motorcycles.
He'll lose that every
So that's one of those new sweatshirts, isn't it?
Sure is.
Did you see that, Charles?
Good looking. I saw it early today, yeah.
A little color-coordinated buffalo on it?
Yeah.
It's a whole magnet.
Man, I like that. That is a whole magnet.
You find me attractive?
How much other free stuff did you get?
You got a T-shirt, too.
Oh, he's got a... Oh, my God. Big boy
You got one of
t-shirt.
the big boy T-shirts on.
Yep.
No wonder they can't make any money out there.
That's a very good point.
Imus in the morning 2020 sports rolls on.
Shocking upset in college basketball. Good morning, Mike Breen with sports. The nation's longest home winning streak comes to an end last night as number 8 Kansas lost to unranked Iowa at the Allen Fieldhouse, ending the Jayhawks' 62-game home win streak. Kansas guard Ryan Robertson was philosophical after the loss.
You know, nobody would love this game or nobody would play this game if every single time you went out, you know, it was easy. And you got to put yourself on the line. You got to put yourself in a position to get hurt sometimes, and that's what happened tonight. And this one hurts.
Ryan obviously measuring in dance or theater.
That will be fine.
Greek mythology.
We don't need that.
College Football Hall of Fame with several new inductees last night, including former Brigham Young quarterback Jim McMahon. Went on, of course, to win a Super Bowl with the Bears. McMahon was feeling proud.
It's a great honor. I mean, there's less than 1,000 guys that are in the College Football Hall of Fame, and there's how many thousands and millions of guys that played this game. So it's a great honor to be one of those guys, and to be here with guys like Bo.
The Bo McMahon refers to as Bo Dietl, the former New York City hero cop, who frequently bet on McMahon's games while he played at Brigham Young. Also honored, former Nebraska coach Tom Osborne.
Disgraceful.
Osborne read a heartwarming letter signed by many of his former players. The players could not be in attendance at the New York City event because leaving the state of Nebraska would violate their respective paroles. Still nice of them to send a letter.
Yeah.
NBA news, the latest cancellation, the All-Star game set for Valentine's Day in Philadelphia, wiped out. Will not happen. Of course, Valentine's Day brings about thoughts of love and couples like the Imuses. Yesterday, Mrs. Deirdre Imus remembered when she met the irascible radio legend at a book signing at a Barnes & Noble. And she remembered her first words to the I-Man.
Grandpa, can you read me a story?
And, of course, the rest is history.
This is the point that if we were at a remote, the audience would go nuts. we sit here looking at Mike. You idiot.
The audience would be screaming.
And as Lou said, then I'd say, so long, everybody!
On the next South Lawn, hopes of censure are beginning to fade as Fat Man begins his defense against impeachment.
I'm not worried. Obstruction of justice, abuse of power, perjury, yada, yada, yada. Everybody knows that we're still just a job.
But he's not happy with the witness list his lawyers have put together.
What the hell are you all doing? Where's Cato Kalin? Where's Mark Furman? You want me to get off or what?
Yet in the midst of all the controversy, he still finds time to take in a movie.
I just saw that remake of Psycho. Is it me or is it the same movie? I want my $8 back.
Then he finds that one of his staunchest supporters, Tom Hanks, has dissed him in the New Yorker.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, he shouldn't have won the Academy Award for playing that retard, because it was typecasting.
Meanwhile, former Congressman Michael Hovington reveals that he's gay.
Hey, I don't blame him for being a mo, because if I was married to that obnoxious cow Ariana, I think I'd also let some guy stick it up my can rather than her.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin gets out of his hospital bed long enough to fire a few of his top aides.
That's not such a bad policy. I'd do it too, but they all quit before I ever get the chance.
Janet Reno decides not to order an independent counsel to investigate Batman's campaign fundraising tactics.
Jesus, after 6 years, she finally gets it. She either watches her ass or she's out on it. And what the hell else is she gonna do? She's a dyke and she's tall enough, but she's still too old for the WNBA.
South Lawn, the fat intern has sung, and now it's time for Fat Man to start tap dancing.
Guess I better call Vernon Jordan. Hey, Bojangles, how the hell do I get out of this one?
All right. Here now on the Imus in the Morning program, Fat Mouth, and I'm up to here with that fat bitch.
I've had quite enough of Lewinsky. I've had quite enough of Lewinsky. Yes, it's true. And baby, so have you. Brought me a pizza with cheese, then she got down on her knees, gave me extensions, talking trash on the phone. She made me shout, go baby. I rolled the dice, and now I'm gonna have to pay the price. I've had quite enough of Lewinsky. I've had quite enough of Lewinsky, I confess. Since I missed her dress, I guess there is no escape, 'cause it's all there on the tape. When she told Linda about the stain and cigar, she made me shout, go baby. Her looks ain't much, but she's got so much more for me to touch. I've had quite enough of Lewinsky. I've had quite enough of Lewinsky.
Katzenberg and the Prince of Egypt and DreamWorks is not going to be a pleasant 750 words about Mr. Katzenberg, unfortunately, but then that's just the way these things go. It's just the shrimps turn in the barrels, Moni, doesn't it?
Imus in the morning.
All these Monica Lewinsky requests, Q104. Mr. Salty, but...
Well, why aren't you looking at me?
I don't want to make eye contact right now.
No, not the day to do it.
Today's a fine day to do it. I was just telling Charles that
Absolutely not.
this is the situation. Here's the situation here. It's like one time Breen took me out to Fordham University to visit the basketball coach, Nick McCarthy. And we go back in the locker room, and he has up on the blackboard, up on the boards, back on the D. I mean, up on the backboard and back on the defense.
How about on a slab for you?
And I said, why is that necessary? And he says, you have to remind these nitwits of these fundamentals every day, which is the situation here, and I forget it sometimes, that you have to remind Bernard and Lou, and even sometimes Charles and Breen, but seldom Charles, but of these fundamentals of the program every day. And so rather than do that, I lose my temper.
I'll say.
So it's not helpful if Bernard's on the phone when I'm talking on the radio, and then I talk to him because I can't see him clearly, so I don't know that he's on the phone, and then he doesn't respond. Or it's like when Charles is sitting here reading, and I try to get his attention, and it just doesn't work. So you have to remind him all the time.
Idiots.
So I should do that rather than losing my temper about it, shouldn't I?
That would be an approach.
Yeah,
that would be an approach.
Well, we know it would be an approach. Wouldn't it be a better approach?
I think that it would be a more comfortable
Not the best approach, though.
Yeah.
From the boards back in the D.
Right. That's what we'll do.
Up in the coffin, back in the grave.
That will be fine.
Imus in the morning. 2020 Sports. Here's Artest beating the pressure. Slams it with the left hand. Artest took it hard on the basket with the emphatic jam, and St. John's has a 20-point lead.
St. John's romps at home. Good morning. Mike Breen with sports. Gary Cohen with the call. Big East basketball. Number 18 St. John's dumps number 20 Pitt. 73-52. Big game for Bootsy Thornton. Bootsy had 23. Coach Mike Jarvis knows what makes Bootsy go.
He's a scorer. Scorers have to shoot.
Jarvis is well aware that in order to score, one has to shoot. Bootsy took that advice and took home the win for the Red Storm. Number 1 UConn receiving a scare, but winning on the road, holding off UMass 59-54. UConn right now has the number 1 men's basketball team and number 1 women's basketball team in the country. Big weekend coming up in the NFL. Biggest game Sunday night. Jets and Dolphins in Miami for first place in the AFC East. Needless to say, Coach Bill Parcells has his game face on this week. But to make matters worse, he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And that does not please Parcells to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
I requested purposely not to be on that cover. And they wanted, I said I really didn't want to do the article if it was going to be on the cover. And I, as recently as last week, took a photo for them with a guarantee from them that it would not be on the cover. Okay, but they elected to do that anyway, I think. I don't know for sure. So you can imagine how I feel about it.
Clearly can imagine. On the cover it says, tough SOB, super coach. With Parcells staring straight ahead.
Well, why, so in other words, they lied to him.
Yeah.
He's claiming they lied to him in Sports Illustrated, isn't he?
Apparently.
It's not a great photo either, by the way.
No.
Lighting's hideous on it. I understand what they're attempting to do, but it didn't work.
I believe the coach on this one.
You do?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I've almost stopped talking to the press.
Not a bad idea.
You
don't need that.
Some of them are okay, but
you can't trust.
No, and then the real amateurs are the ones who try to ingratiate themselves with you, and then, I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me what they write anyway, so.
No.
But the coach got screwed, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
Why didn't he want to be on the cover? Because of the jinx deal? Or?
No, he said it's just a personal thing.
Why did he pose for the photograph then?
I guess he thought it was going to be on the inside.
Well, don't pose for the photograph, coach. Just say if you don't want it, just don't. That's what I wouldn't do.
Say no camera. That's it.
No, just don't pose for the photograph.
Yeah. Any pictures of him floating in a pool in there? Like the Iman years ago?
Yeah, I'd like to see you floating in a pool face down.
Good one.
9 minutes till the hour.
Another big game. Denver Broncos continue their drive towards history as they face the New York Giants at the Meadowlands. Broncos trying to go undefeated. With more on that game, here's NFL reporter Billy Taylor.
Every member of the Giants is excited about the chance to play Denver. Covering the Giants, I'm Billy Taylor.
Next hour, Billy will report on the Giants' preparations for the big game on Sunday. Finally, White House Christmas tree lighting last night. One of those on hand, Sammy Sosa.
On behalf of my country, my people, thank you very much. I just here to spend a beautiful time with all the people that supported me in 1998. I just wanted to say happy holiday, Merry Christmas to everybody. God bless. Thank you.
I think it's time for Sammy to stop talking into microphones. Wait to talk about home runs. Maybe not.
Too bad Sammy didn't have something amusing to say there, huh, Mike?
Happy Kwanzaa. No, I guess not. Want to do NHL scores?
Sure.
NHL last night, it was the Canucks and Mighty Ducks.
He's back. Metaphorically speaking, that is. Technically, I'm still worm food, capiche?
The chairman of the board is back with an offer you can't refuse. Your own copy of the 1,300-page FBI report that alleges Frank Sinatra had mob ties.
Oh, Sherlock, you're a regular Einstein. You figured that one out on your own?
Read about the man whose hands reached into the Kennedy White House.
Only so I could cop a feel off of that Jackie. Mean you was she a dame. Why Jack was screwing around on her, I'll never understand. I mean, she was nothing like that big Bobby married.
Frank Sinatra, a man who apparently had a penchant for underage Bobby Soxers.
Get lucky with a baby tonight. Hey, sweetheart, want a lollipop?
Read about the allegations that old Blue Eyes was a red.
Hey, so I dodged the draft. That don't make me a commie. If anything, it should have made me president.
Start spreading the news. Frankie was friendly with Sam Giancana and Yellow Della Croce, Carlo Gambino, and Joey Gallo.
Yeah? So what's your point?
Nothing. Sorry I mentioned it.
You better be.
See for yourself the memos to J. Edgar Hoover about Sinatra's arrest for sex offenses.
Hey, so I tried to bang a few bimbos. That don't make me a felon. If anything, it should have made me president. You know, I think those are all frames, because that fat pig at the FBI, she was sweet on me.
Frank, that was J. Edgar Hoover.
What? Motto. I probably shouldn't have banged it in, huh?
An offer you can't refuse. The FBI files for Sinatra files everywhere.
That wasn't a dame? Jeez. No wonder Jack wouldn't her.
Chicago Mayor Richard J. Daley.
The confrontation was not created by the police. The confrontation was created by the people who charged the police.
There's something happening here.
And this is really unbelievable. What now? I'm sitting there in the office yesterday. You know who called me? Ron Insana. No.
Oh.
Yeah.